important to teach your dog how to wear a harness. This isn't a skill that they come built in with. We have to make sure that we help them understand how to wear it, why they're going to wear it, by training with them to help them think that wearing a harness is a fun and exciting experience that leads to good things. So when you're starting out, you want to make sure that you are giving treats to them while we're teaching them how to wear a harness, right? A lot of people will just go ahead and put that harness on and then do whatever it is that they were going to do. And for dogs who are not familiar with a harness, puppies, or a dog that's new to you, has never worn a harness before, putting a harness on, whether it's over the head or a step-in harness, can be a really scary experience for some dogs and can just be kind of an annoying experience for others. So while you are putting the harness on, one of the easiest ways to help them feel good about that experience is to give them treats while you're putting it on. So you can be giving them treats from your hand, or you can be placing them on the ground in front of your dog while you're putting that harness on. And realistically, a lot of dogs do really well if you bring the harness out first and just let them interact with it while they're getting treats, instead of trying to just bring it out of the blue and put it straight on them. Let them get familiar with it as an item before we're trying to put that on. And I'm going to show you a couple of videos of dogs putting on harnesses that are step in, over the head. We're going to use shaping and luring in these videos, which are two different methods of teaching the dog to do it. The most important thing, just because you can get a dog to follow a treat into a harness, is you really want to make sure that you maintain their trust by moving at their pace. So don't take advantage of the situation and kind of sneak attack them once they've put their head through the harness for the treat to put it on. Really take the time to build their trust with it and make it a positive experience. So in this video, that I'm working with a dog who actually had kind of a negative experience originally, where the harness was put on and she wasn't ready for that experience. She became very head shy, very worried about putting her head into this harness that goes over the head. And so I worked with her, and I did a time lapse of these videos. I worked with her, offering her treats to go near the harness. Notice I'm not trying to pull her head through right now. I'm just trying to get her comfortable with going near the harness again. And if she doesn't go right away, I just wait for her to get comfortable with it. I want her to have a lot of positive experiences with going near the harness again and not feeling like she's going to have that sneak attack happen. So as she gets more comfortable with it, we take breaks. I let her kind of go off and chase some treats in another direction. If she comes back to me, that tells me she wants to keep working with it, and then she moves away. So we take another break. I really want her to know that this isn't an experience that's going to be scary or something that she doesn't like. So once I give her that break and I say, that's okay, I'm not going to bring it back to you, then she actually re-engages with me. I even got a toy out for her so she could choose to play with the toy, or she could put her head through the harness for a treat. And as she had options, she was able to be more confident going ahead and putting her head through the harness. So as we build her skill and she's putting her head through, we get to a point where I can set it on her shoulders, but I don't immediately clip it as soon as I get to that stage. I take it back off. We continue to play this game, and I let her really set the stage, set the pace for it so that she gets comfortable. And eventually we get her to a point where she's able to put the harness on. She still doesn't love it, but she's a lot more willing to participate in the game with us now, instead of feeling like she got bamboozled. And right here at the end, we get all the way to the shoulders. There we go, good girl. And as you can see, she didn't back away. She wasn't trying to run away once it was resting on her shoulders. And I took a break right after that so that she could decide how she felt about it and come back and play the game some more. So she did a really, really good job with that. And she stayed engaged the whole time. All right, so that is how we would go about working on building confidence with an overhead harness. when we're picking our harnesses. Having an overhead harness that has a bigger opening can be really beneficial, as you can see from the harness in this video. It was a kind of a one size no matter what, so there was no adjusting it to make it bigger. A lot of times that can help dogs feel more safe about the experience instead of having something that goes very closely over their head. So something to think about. In the next video here, we're going to take a look at a step-in harness for a bulldog client of mine. And so again, she had some sensitivity to the harness. So I was working on this skill with her. She already had been familiar with and was wearing the harness, but she was very scared of it. So I was working with her on being comfortable approaching and putting herself in all of these situations. I'm not putting the harness on them. I'm teaching them how to help me put the harness on them by them mostly putting the harness on themselves. So we work on our step-in harness here, and this is a little further in the process. She has already learned that if she steps over and essentially stands where her paws are inside of the harness, then she's going to get rewarded for that. I also position her, since I need to lift the harness up, I position her in between my feet so that it's easy for me to lift the harness up. That positioning is really dependent on how comfortable the handler is with the position that they're going to be putting the harness on. You can do this in a variety of ways. But again, I worked with her on standing over the harness before I started to lift it up. I did everything in very, very small steps here. So I'll go ahead and play this for you. And so we do it a couple of times where she just stands over the harness, and then we move away and we come back. She gets lots of treats, and then I put it on and then I take it off. And then we do it again. And she feels very comfortable about that. So again, I broke it down into really small pieces for her to be able to do most of the work herself and feel very comfortable. I get a lot of reinforcement for it. The higher the rate of reinforcement, the more successful they'll feel, the more successful you will be. So our favorite harnesses here at Smiles Dog Training are a well-fitting Y-shaped harness. And what I mean by Y-shaped is on the front chest, you're going to have a piece that goes straight down the middle, and it makes a Y as it goes up and around the shoulders. So if you've seen a harness that kind of cuts straight across the front of the shoulders, things like the Easy Walk or other no-pull harnesses, what they're doing is they're actually restricting the movement of the shoulders by cutting across there. So that Y shape that comes straight up and then goes in a Y along the neck, just like this harness, really allows for full range of shoulder motion. And so it's a comfortable harness for our dogs to wear, and we have less risk of them developing physical problems because of this restrictive device that we're putting on them. And the other thing that the Haki Hanas and the balance harnesses all have, they're built in a way that the dogs feel a lot more comfortable because they're not so bulky. And they also have buckles at the right places so that we have a couple of different options if our dog's not very comfortable with going over the head, and then we can actually unbuckle the whole thing and kind of place it on them and then buckle it. So we have less step in or over the head shyness because they're not having those experiences. So a couple last top tips from Smiles Dog Training. Just remember, if you're struggling, so is your pup. So go ahead and slow it down. Take the time to help your pup get comfortable with wearing the harness so that the good things that follow, whether that's walks or car rides or whatever fun may be happening once the harness is on, they feel comfortable enough putting it on that they can start to enjoy those things quickly and make those associations while feeling trusting and comfortable with you. And you want to make sure you use their favorite treats for this exercise because it can be stressful, and we want to make sure they're very motivated to work with us. And you want to make sure that the harness fits well. So avoid harnesses that fit too tight, or again, harnesses that restrict movement. Especially with puppies, you want to be checking the fit of the harness often. They grow very quickly, and sometimes the reason that they start to get shy about putting a harness on is because the harness doesn't fit as well as it used to. So checking that fit often is important. And go at your dog's pace. If you go at your dog's pace, you'll make so much more progress than if you try to make something happen when they're not ready.